So I don't know why there has been so much fantasy news recently, because it seems like right when I started reporting it, because there was like a flood from all those shows and things coming out, it's just continued to rain and pour new fantasy news updates. And the fact that there is a brand new Star Wars show that I have not talked about, even though there's been 2 episodes before this, just lets you know the sheer volume. It's crazy. But what we're getting from the Star Wars universe is pretty exciting. And we're going to go ahead and jump on into the news for what the big updates are for the Star Wars TV show, as well as some Brandon Sanderson updates at the end. Normally I cover more news stories than just 2 on Fantasy News, and by normally I mean in the 2 previous episodes, but these are both quite a bit to unpack, so we're going to go ahead and jump in, and I'll also be doing some cleanup for some misinformation that I spread before. I'm full of fake news, apparently. So this is from Wired.com, and they actually say here's a buttload of information about the new Star Wars streaming show. And if you did not know, yes, it will be a streaming show, probably coming out on the new Disney network. That will probably be one of the few new streaming services to actually succeed, if I had to guess, because if you have all the IPs that Disney has, my God, you're going to be able to draw in an audience. I don't know if I personally will be subscribing to it, but it exists. I might be jumping onto there. I'm not sure. It depends on the reviews for their shows, because, you know, it's Disney and they own everything. Here's a buttload of information about the new Star Wars streaming show, and this is the source, Lucasfilm and showrunner Jon Favreau. Now, if you don't know Jon Favreau, I don't believe you. Everyone knows him. He's the guy who directed Iron Man. He's largely credited with being the real, like, kicking off person for, you know, the MCU. Good for him. And they are already going ahead and rating probabilities of accuracy in this article, saying some of it is like super on target, it's going to be accurate, and other stuff is pure speculation. And if they were a real news website, I'd kind of judge them for that, but it's Wired, and I'm not saying they're a bad website, I'm just saying they're not like CNN, they're not like hard-hitting facts. I'm just saying they're not like MSNBC or BBC or whatever, Fox News, whatever thing I have to say for you not to get mad in the comment section for me saying legitimate news. And so yeah, Wired's allowed to speculate. I'm not going to judge him for that, even though it's kind of bad reporting. The real deal, without a doubt, the biggest Star Wars news over the last few weeks has been the reveal of the title and premise of director Jon Favreau's live-action Star Wars series titled The Mandalorian. The series centers around a lone gunfighter in the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. So right there, a lot to unpack, because wow. There is quite a bit that's just dumped there. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you can kind of make some speculation. 1, the Republic. That actually places the show in the timeline. It's not the Empire, it's the Republic. The fact that it won't be taking place in the Republic, it'll be in the Outer Rim. Something that's been talked about a lot in Star Wars, but never really shown to us. Cool. I'm super down for that. And also Mandalore. We're going to be getting a Mandalorian type setting, or following a main Mandalorian. That's very cool. I'm actually really excited for that, even though Star Wars has not been my favorite in the last couple of years. Favreau offered up a picture of the titular hero via Instagram. The picture it looks like Boba Fett. It's Mandalorian. Like, there's no surprise there. He looks like what we'd think. And shared a better image of the Mandalorian's weapon soon after, which delighted hardcore fans because it's a nod to the Boba Fett's appearance in the much maligned Star Wars Holiday Special. I am amazed they are willing to have that even be referenced in their show, but you know what? Boba Fett actually looked kind of cool in the Star Wars Holiday Special, so good on him, and I'm okay to have that. The Star Wars Holiday Special is, dear God, atrocious. Don't put yourself through it in watching it. Just watch Red Letter Media's watching it. That's all you need to know from it. You don't need to watch this Christmas holiday special from Star Wars. It's god-awful. As if that wasn't enough, Lucasfilm also announced the directors for the first season, and its genuinely impressive lineup. David Filoni, Jessica Jones, and Mr. Robot's Deborah Chow. So those are 2 people. I'm bad with names. I'm not going to do another take. Just keep it all in. Just keep my terribleness in. Bruce Dallas Howard, Dope from Dopes, Rick Fowey, and most impressively of all, Thor Ragnarok's director Taika Waititi. Not bad for a show intended for a streaming service. No wonder it's reportedly costing $10 million per episode. Now, there's a lot of names there. I mispronounced most of them. And the only one I'm really excited for is Taika Waititi. I adore Thor Ragnarok and his other movie, What We Do in the Shadows. I forget what it's called, but it's fantastic if you haven't already seen it. Some of the best, like, off-putting, zany humor, mockumentary stuff I've ever seen on the level of Spinal Tap. I'll say that confidently, and it's great. So if you want to check that out, do. I think it's even better than Thor Ragnarok, and I love Thor Ragnarok. And Taika Waititi's wonderful. That's the one I'm really excited for there. Let me know in the comments down below who you're excited for, so it helps my YouTube analytics because there's more comments, and that boosts me. I'm a whore. Their next section is from online rumor mongering, so take everything that's said here with a grain of salt. And they say the possibility of accuracy is iffy. So I don't even know why I should be talking about this if it's probably not true, but let's go. In case you haven't had enough Mandalorian news already, perhaps you'd be interested in rumor concerning the cast of the show. Fans cite Making Star Wars is suggesting that somewhat amazingly, Werner Herzog will be in the show, based on the discovery of the Mandalorian's production code name seems to be Huckleberry, which is the same code name of a project Herzog had previously been connected to. I find that to be way too strenuous, and I doubt that actor is going to be involved, and that's kind of like really stretching there, so I'm not there with that. Although even Making Star Wars is a little nervous about this one is John Leguizamo, something that makes a little bit more sense when you consider that Leguizamo worked with Mandalorian showrunner Jon Favreau in 2014's Chef. Looks like Mandalorian universe will be filled with stars. Yeah, that's, again, a stretch. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And I'm not even going to report the rest of this stuff, because then they just get down to, like, pure stupid speculation. Yeah, it just turns into pure stupid speculation. But you got the original news from the beginning there, and now we need to get into some news updates. Some new updates. Brandon Sanderson, arguably the king of modern fantasy, one of the best-selling authors currently working, and someone who is crafting the masterful work Stormlight Archive, finished Mistborn Era 1 magnificently. You all know who he is. I don't need to introduce him. I don't know why I'm doing it. Tweeted out that he apparently handed in his secret project to a publisher, and there's a lot of speculation on what this could be, whether it's involving a TV show that's been in the works, some video game rumors that have been going around, things like that. And that brings me into kind of a cleanup from last episode. So there's nothing saying the show's not happening, something based on Brandon Sanderson's work. DMG did purchase the rights, but there's been no updates. And in the last episode, I accidentally made it seem like maybe it's not happening altogether. I did not mean to do that. I was wrong. What I mean is that there's just no real substantial updates. There doesn't seem to be like extreme momentum. Like Witcher news, we heard about the show and then stuff just started happening like that. Brandon Sanderson's show, maybe a little slower coming down the pipe, but it's huge and it kind of makes sense. This is purely speculation. I don't think they'll be shooting for a timeline to come out like right after Game of Thrones ends, which a lot of the upcoming fantasy shows I think are trying to do, like Avatar, Witcher, Wheel of Time. But this special project certainly has piqued a lot of people's interests, and I personally think it might be a surprise another book. We all know this guy writes like a maniac, and he's put out multiple books in 1 year before, multiple massive, insanely good fantasy books in 1 year. He writes on like a Stephen King level almost, in terms of just sheer volume. Either way, I'm excited, and all the people out there claiming they know for sure what it is, I don't believe you. But I am certainly interested. And something that I might have been wrong about and maybe just did flat out misreport would be the issues with who's actually writing for the show. So previously I saw some evidence that some guys who previously have been involved in writing slasher flicks like Saw were involved, and I kind of went at that and was a little harsh in kind of criticizing that. But the problem is, other than the article that I originally found that mentioned that, almost nothing else, nothing, has mentioned that these people are involved. So because of that reason, and the sources for that article seem shaky, I'm going to go ahead and pretty much revoke that. I'm not sure whether those people are involved or not. And Brandon Sanderson works being adapted in any ways, except for that VR game that came out that got muddled reviews, are probably many years down the road. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're going to be great when they do come out, because Brandon cares about his work and has a lot of passion for the worlds he's involved in. But I'm just not entirely sure what is going on behind the scenes yet. For shows that are further down the line, we're getting good vibes and feelings, like Witcher, Wheel of Time, Avatar. These things are getting praise, getting hype, getting actual solid information. But Brandon, everything you see, if it's not coming from Brandon himself over the next couple of months, I would take with a pretty large grain of salt, because a lot of these websites out there, as I've quickly learned while doing fantasy news, speculate hardcore, and it's obnoxious. But of course, I will keep you guys updated on whatever happens with Brandon Sanderson in the near future, because he is one of my personal favorite authors, in terms of fantasy of all time. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode of Fantasy News. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace.